Well, that was good timing on that particular comment, but I mean, it is getting a little ridiculous. I saw that list of names, and that's down there a little bit lower. All right, Dr. A, how do you hear?
Good morning. Can you hear me well?
I've got you, Lima Charlie. So, everybody that's watching live, this is my lovely wife, Miss Jennifer Lundy. She still hasn't changed her name, and I'm so upset. Not. She's been a little busy also being my campaign manager, so poor her. Anyway,
awful.
It is awful because you can't really argue with your campaign manager when it's your spouse.
That's the truth.
You know, as the candidate, you're supposed to do what your campaign manager says. So is this just like conditioning for life? What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
It's been beautiful.
Do everything she says from now on.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's worked well. I've got to be honest with you. There are times, okay, again, I'm a fighter pilot, so my natural inclination is to attack when attacked. But, you know, in politics, and I said this to my good friend Nick over there that's running the show, that, you know, politics is actually harder than war. Because in war, when somebody shoots at you, it didn't work out well for them. Like I said, I've got a rifle on my wall that was shot at me, so you can figure out how it got there. Whereas in politics, you have to smile and pretend that it doesn't bug you.
And it is a lot of fun holding him back.
I was a full-time job these days because you should see the mailers he's putting out. It's like, it's honestly, it's gotten to the point, at least in Texas, and you guys tell me if it's the same in Florida and California, where most people ignore them. And I was block walking this past weekend, and I asked 2 or 3 people, you know, can I hand you my campaign information? And they're like, we get so much of that in our mailbox, we don't want any more at all. And I'm like, but this is the truth.
And this is very different.
Yeah. So she's also the proponent behind the big, beautiful mailer, which I posted online. So, all right, let me get, what am I looking to do?
Share.
Okay, I already had done that, but what email address do you want it to?
That's what I'm trying to see.
Oh, info@Kinetic Curve. All right, Dr. A, still not seeing you up there, but you know, obviously, if you look at the agenda on the Google Doc, you'll see where you're slated in here. All right.
I'm trying.
Okay, now.
My computer's not getting in for some reason.
All right, Southern, I need my baseball update. How's my little guy doing?
We had 2 games last week. We made it home 2 of the 4 times.
Okay, so he scored 2 runs. Now, did he hit on base, or was he walked? I mean, what's his? Did he drive people in? Runs in? How many RBIs does he have?
Actually, they never get walked in T-ball. Never.
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard. Listen, it's going to be really hard for me to keep track of that this season because I am in charge of team score this year for our team.
Okay. All right, so you're keeping
that was
score.
A bad decision on everybody's part, just so you know.
Somehow I think not. So, all right. Well, so the little guy got 2 runs. That's good news. Now, are we on winning teams this year, or are we still suffering?
I think this year is going to be really interesting because he's on a younger team, so a lot of his team are just now moving up. So we'll see. I think they have a chance of at least being in the top 3. Maybe not top 1, but top 3 at least.
That's
cool.
Excellent.
All right. So in California and Florida, is it primary season for you guys as well?
No, ours does not start until later this year.
Okay. And what about you, Dr. A?
Primary season for elections? What are we asking primary about?
Yeah, primary season for elections.
Right. So we're like in the filing, and our primaries are June 2nd.
Okay.
I'm a little jealous.
Well, I don't know. I think we're going to be going to the end of May, but that's a different story.
I don't.
Well, we'll discuss that in just a second. But everybody, please share the space. Get this out there. We are also live streaming on X and Facebook and YouTube. All right. Now we'll try and add a couple more. How quick do you think I would get banned off of TikTok, Nick? Within the first sentence?
No.
No?
I personally, I think you would crush it on TikTok because you're willing to talk about the things that no one else is willing to talk about.
Okay. Well, I definitely am. I've got a speech, guys, that I gave yesterday, and I've been working on it for a while. And, you know, the way these things kind of ruminate in my mind is I come up with an idea, then I do a little historical research to see what somebody said about it, and then I apply it to modern standards and see if it still holds. And then I'll do what I call like a taste test. So just kind of throw out a paragraph or two of what I'm thinking, and then I try and flesh it out. But I'm only at like the 80% completion, and it's one of those that I really want to land. You know, the more I think about this speech, the more I think it could actually have an impact on people, because it had an impact yesterday. And you know, you can feel it sometimes when you get up and speak and the room gets real quiet and you can look around and you see people are really paying attention. I mean, literally at one point when I was talking yesterday, I looked around, there's probably at least, I'd say 80 to 120 people, somewhere around that amount there, if not more. And everyone was looking at you and you're like, okay, I'm really doing all right now. So that was definitely a good feeling. And I know my opponent listens, but he likes to be in the anonymous section. So just know, you know, I do forgive you. I'm saying that out of my mouth right now, all of your lies against me, including the one you told yesterday, it's in the head, but it's going to take a while to get to the heart. Sorry, Jesus. I'm doing the best I can. So anyway, it is 10:54. We're about to start, so let me go over the rules real quick. No cussing. Mom listens to the space, and she doesn't like cussing. Don't talk over each other, which we haven't had as a problem for a while, and it doesn't look like we've got that many listeners right now, so we could literally probably just invite everyone onto the stage and talk. Now, the other thing is if you talk too long, we'll ding you, which we haven't had to do in forever as well. So the question of the day, and we'll start with you, Jennifer, is who is the funniest comedian to you currently?
Why would you start that with me?
I don't know.
I don't even know because I don't get to watch TV much.
No, you really don't. That's true. So I watch TV when I'm working. I don't think she ever really sits down to watch TV.
Nope.
What about you, Southern? Do you have a favorite comedian?
Oh, I do not. I don't even know any of their names anymore.
You know, I think that's true. Mostly I don't either, but I have a couple that I really like. What about you, Dr. A?
No, sir, mine died.
Okay. All right. We need some details.
Robin Williams. It's never been the same.
That's the truth.
He was a great comedian. You know, I think there is a dearth of, there's just not that many clean comedians anymore. But I'll tell you, my favorite is not clean at all, and that's Dave Chappelle. I mean, he just absolutely lays into anyone. So he's my favorite comedian. You know, I am obviously a Texan, so I'm a little bit rednecky. So I would say I do like the redneck tour with Ron White. Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy, and who's the other guy? Bill something or other. But anyway, so I'll often find myself when somebody's saying something to me and it's really dumb, I will literally in the back of my head say, there's your sign. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's tough. So we finished through the question quickly, so probably a little quicker than I wanted. So Dr. A, if you were going to ask a question of the day, what would it be right off the top of your head? TikTok.
What's somebody's top community concern right now for their own community?
Well, we're actually going to talk about this in a little bit, but I would say the top community concern right now in Texas is property taxes. Taxes in Texas, things that we got to get to go down. Absolutely. As well as the number of mosques in our state, et cetera. That's another one. So you got a social issue and you've got an economic issue that you got to hit with a left-right combo. So those are the top two here. What about you, Dr. A? All right. Are we lagging?
Sorry, I was trying to put the plan up in the nest. No, I was trying to put the plan in the nest. Two things at once. My top community concern right now is safety. Yeah.
Okay.
California's kind of allowed it to go to hell. So, safety.
All right. Southern, what about you? And then we'll come to you, Jen.
You know me, taxes. It's always taxes. Everybody wants my money to do fraud with.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, these Somalis have got to have leering centers. Look at you. You got to stop prohibiting them from having leering centers. All right. What about you, Jen?
Well, obviously, taxes is the number one. Roads, power, and water. The Muslims, and my personal favorite, Texans for judicial accountability. We need judicial accountability in not only our state, but the United States. We've got some real issues going on.
All right, Nick, you look busy over there. What are your top 2 issues?
Mine would be the schools and the Islamification.
All right, so, on schools, I had that was probably the only really negative reaction I had when I was block walking on Saturday. And it was a lady that said, I need you to promise me that you will fully fund schools. And I'm like, they just gave them a lot more money. And she's like, they carved out $1 billion. I'm like, ma'am, they didn't carve anything out. They fully funded their budget, and then they gave another $1 billion to education. I said this the other day at the Prestonwood Baptist Church candidate forum. You show me another business that has a declining amount of consumers, declining product value, that is actively hurting the clients and yet is demanding more money and thinks they're entitled to it. Now, fortunately, I know Texas just put in charge a man that is very competent and very good in dealing with the rampant teacher abuse, both physical and sexual, of our students. All right, and I'm very confident in his ability if he can penetrate the bureaucracy to get it done. But I wonder why we are continuing to fund schools at the level we're doing when we're getting a bad product. And it's not me, it's parents are voting with their feet. They are pulling their children out in homeschooling, or they are sending them to private schools that are Christian based. So again, when you see a product that is so toxic that parents are going out of their way to avoid it, why is the state throwing money at it wholesale? But then again, my state threw $13 million to Islamic charities last session. My opponent voted for that budget. Anyway, it is now high noon, so I'd like to welcome you all to The Reckoning. This is The Reckoning, 16 February 2026, show number 314, and 1 hour of unfiltered political truth starts now. Now, last night, I received a text from a very good friend and one of the precinct chairs I hope to represent. It was an article from Texas Scorecard about a proposed data center in Hood County. And it caught my eye immediately for a couple of reasons, primarily because my opponent, who lives in Denton County, was arguing to stop the county commissioners of a completely different county from prohibiting a data center. So why was he involved in that? Now, Texas has a serious water problem, and the explosion of AI and data centers is not helping. I believe that county commissioners and the county judges, who are elected representatives of the people, should have more power when it comes to, and more of a say when it comes to the development of their county. But I still haven't quite figured out why my opponent was weighing in on this unless there was a personal angle, which I happen to know because of the other people involved there is. But more on that after the election, a lot more. So I'll be real curious to see his 8-day campaign finance report, because I want to see who is paying for him to intervene in this, because he doesn't do anything without being paid. Reference the 61 Muslim donors that coerced him to pull his anti-care bill. But it also struck me that in his heart, he is a big government Republican, meaning he feels like the state should weigh in on all aspects of your life. You can see it in his repeated bills to tell parents what they can and cannot do with their children. He is literally telling high school students and their parents that their kid can't have a cell phone in school. I'm sorry, but that should be up to the parents, the school's policy, the school board as set by the local officials and not the state government. So it gets to the larger question of the role of government in our lives? Have we as Americans given them too much power? I mean, the power to license, the power to regulate, the power to register is the power to tax. It is the power for the government to intrude in our lives. When is the last real rollback of government you can remember? Can you even think of one? The only thing I can think of is that Texas right now does not require a state inspection sticker in some jurisdictions. You still have to get an inspection. It's just no sticker. So they're trying to say we're pulling government back, but in reality, it's just a cost savings measure for them. So it's a little ridiculous. So when are we going to run into a Republican that will actually cut government? Well, you're looking at one. You know, I'm beginning to wonder if the true impediment for unleashing the American economic spirit is in reality our own government. You know, I wonder what it would be like if we had as little regulation as they had in the 1800s. They hamstring us with regulations and very frequently do not work in terms of the common good. So my entering position when I get into Austin in terms of looking at the budget is not for agencies to justify their increases in spending year over year, but to justify their reason for existence completely. If it can be done at the county level, if it can be done at the city level, why on earth should Austin intrude? We need to return to small government. And to do that, we have to elect Republicans that are willing to say and have the fortitude to eliminate programs completely, including the jobs that go with them. All right, there endeth the rant for right now. So thank you guys for being here. Dr. A or Southern, do you have any comments on the rant before we get going? Shell, welcome. Glad to see you back.
The only one I have, Larry, is I cannot think of one thing the government has taken away from our rights and they give it us back. Can't.
You know, there's definitely that. You know, there are people that still actually think that you have free speech in this country, and I'm telling you, you don't. All right, you really don't. They will monitor you. They surveil you. I mean, the guy that took over my website and did some stuff said he saw code in it that he's never seen before. So, I wonder what the FBI is up to right now. All right, so I'd like to welcome to the program my wife, so I'm obviously highly biased. She also happens to be my campaign manager, Jennifer Lundy Brock. So my question for you is first, the usual to any guest, you know, tell me a little about yourself, and then how did you get co-opted into being my campaign manager, which is probably an extremely difficult position.
It's a wonderful position. It's wonderful being married and in that position because I have a little bit of say so sometimes where where I probably wouldn't otherwise. A little bit about me. I've worked for 2 of our senators. I was a court reporter. That got me into Texas for judicial accountability because I could see the issues that we had. It's certainly I was certainly very political whenever I met you. But I would say I probably actually became your campaign manager the day we met. Not knowingly, but as soon as I met you, I knew immediately the kind of man that you are. I'm not gonna say coerced, but got you out speaking publicly, just all of those things. It's just been beautiful.
All right, so obviously, for those of you that don't know, she had me literally out speaking less than a month after we met. But she was smart because she scheduled it in Texarkana, which is like an hour and a half away from here in case I completely flopped. It gave her time to help me recover. So I do want to ask you one more question about the time we met. What was your first thought when I told you that I was a convicted felon and had just gotten out of jail?
Well, my first thought was to get up and leave, But when you said it was for J6, obviously I wasn't going to get up and leave for that because all of us Republicans knew what happened. Clearly, things have been coming out in the news pretty frequently since President Trump won office about how corrupt it was. I'm so thankful for that, but we all knew that there was a lot more to it than what we were being told.
All right. So, how do you think? You've managed the entire campaign, and I've got to tell you, it bodes well for me that she can stretch a dollar unbelievably because, we've been outspent about 13-1, but they're saying that we are either potentially headed for a runoff, or I could actually win outright. So, how do you think it's going to go on election night?
Well, I think it's going to go very well, only because the uproar that I have seen about people wanting change, and change is not just if some guy or girl they want changes in the taxes, they want changes in everything that they can see happening, but they're not a qualified candidate. That's totally different. I see several other races going on in our state where the incumbent probably needs to go, but the person running against them is not qualified. But that's totally different in this case. We know that the incumbent needs to go, but you are so qualified. You will not only are you qualified, you have seen what it takes. You have the experience with the Air Force, and you are incredibly intelligent. And I know he doesn't.
You think so?
I know he doesn't share this, but he was salutatorian in high school. But you're incredibly intelligent. But the main thing is when you went through the J6 stuff, you saw your eyes were opened to what is actually happening, and it's just a beautiful thing that we've got going here. And you are for the things that we are for. Realistically, there are a lot of candidates that I have met that say they're for it, but you are, and that is the difference. And people see that, and people are yelling for you and rooting for you.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest with you. She is right about one thing. At first I believed it was all the animosity towards my opponent, and he merits it in every way.
Yes,
personally, professionally, he's not a good man. But, what I've tried to do is convert them and give them a reason to actually, come out and say that I would be a good candidate. And over the weekend, I received an endorsement from a precinct chair that had previously chosen not to endorse me. And, I think the true measure of it is I didn't treat her any differently. I still respected her. I still went to her for her help and her opinions. And I think that actually surprised her because there is a natural inclination. And, I saw it over the weekend when a mayor endorsed my opponent to say, okay, I'll remember that, but you can't do that, and I have to remember that mayor is doing what he thinks is best for the citizens of his town. And my job when I win is to represent the people in that town and do the best I can for him and them. So it's been a learning experience for me.
And we know that some of these mayors, they have come to you and asked you what will happen if they do endorse him. And you have told them nothing is going to happen. I'm still going to respect you. The difference is if they don't endorse him, he will remain in office when you win in March for the rest of the year, and he could really hurt those towns. And it's important for them to still be able to run their towns. So, I mean, I don't hold anything against them for their endorsement. They're doing it for the best that they can for their town. So we understand that. All
right. So, Dr. A kind of preempted my next question when she said, what do you think is most prevalent in the minds of the voters? If you could get one thing in the mind of every voter in the district, if you could insert a magic email that they're gonna read, what would it be about the campaign? And then the next question, the backside of this is, what has been the most insulting attack you've seen him actually level?
So the thing is, there are a lot of people who run on one issue. A lot of people who run for taxes only. But we've got so many issues that we are concerned with, and you are on point with all of them. You have done your research. I mean, this man gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and goes to bed at 11 o'clock at night, and if he has to get up in the middle of the night, he does. I mean, there have been nights where it may be 2 or 3 in the morning before he gets to bed. because he is researching, he is talking with people, and he is a very intelligent man, and he has got it down. And he's going to learn so much so quickly whenever he gets into session, and I just really look forward to that. The thing, what was the second question about what we've seen?
Well, no, what was the most insulting thing that he has leveled at me that's bothered you the most?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. I mean, all I can do is go on the most recent. We all know about the fact that you voted for Bernie Sanders, and we know why you voted for Bernie Sanders. And a lot of people would have done that because, President Trump didn't have an opponent, and you wanted to make sure that the worst person was going to come up against him. So we get that. But I think it's yesterday, the day before, he put up that you have voted for two of the Democratic opponents, and I don't even know where he gets that, because I have seen the records. I mean, that's one of the very first things that we pulled up. And it's not there. So he's just making up lie after lie after lie. I mean, you can go, just everything he says. I think the thing that disturbs me the most, though, are his mailers. He puts out, he has your mugshot from J6, and he doesn't say that it's from J6. He doesn't state on there anywhere that you're a retired lieutenant colonel. He's going to make sure that he cuts down your importance and puts out anything negative, which all the negatives are coming from J6.
I appreciate you saying that. So let's switch from me for a second. I got to be honest with you guys. It's kind of crazy to me that this person sitting to my right managed to get not only a bill through session, approved by both the House, the Senate, and signed by the governor, but she got a constitutional amendment approved, which requires a 2/3 majority in both the House, the Senate, and the governor to sign it, and then the people have to vote on it and get it approved. So what was the constitutional amendment, and how did you, with just the help of a few people, manage to do that all by yourself when the mighty TLR pretty much failed last session?
Well, first thing I want to say is the constitutional amendments, they don't go through the governor. They are,
okay.
By the legislature and then to the people. So I do want to make sure I correct that.
I thought he could veto that, though.
Nope, no,
okay.
Not those. He can veto any bill that goes through, but not those. So that plays on the Senate Bill 293. They kind of go together, but we were trying to get our State Commission on Judicial Conduct. It was being run by the judges. And when you have a judge judging a judge, and they could have been out playing golf the day before, or they certainly go to all these conventions together, they know each other, and they don't want to reprimand in public. So in SB 293, we were able to get that knocked out, the private complaints that were coming through. So they're all public now if there is a complaint. If there's a complaint that warrants any kind of reprimand. But the SJR 227, that is the constitutional amendment. And it was 6 judges, 5 public citizens, and 2 attorneys. And we were able to knock out the 2 attorneys, and they will now be public citizens. So it'll be 6 judges and 7 public citizens. And we really need that because, all the complaints that go in about judges, we have got to make sure that, and I'm sorry, I just looked at you and I got distracted. But the complaints about judges, there are so many out there, and there's so many judges that are doing the wrong things. We need our people over what's happening. And I was so thankful that passed.
Awesome. So what is your plan for next session? And then we'll move on. What do you most want to see accomplished?
Well, we had House Bill 5411 that went through last session. It did not make it past the committee, which is fine. It came in late, but it requires the political donations to the judges be disclosed. So right now, if you are in court and your opponent donates to the judge the judge does not have to let you know that this has happened. And unfortunately, there are a lot of pay-to-play situations going on out there where judges are ruling in favor of the person who gave them some money. Now, I'm not saying that all of our judges are corrupt like that, but unfortunately, there are enough of them that it has definitely raised some eyebrows. So that is one that we want to get through, where the judges have to alert both sides if they have received a payment. The other one is audio and video in the courtroom. That's a big one. We want audio and video of every court. We want, we're not asking for it to be public. We want them to, both parties to be able to get that. But my main thing is we want our SCJC to be linked in so that they can be watching all of the courtrooms at any time. They can just pick a court and make sure that our judges are doing the correct and accurate thing.
And that's the State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
Yes, State Commission on Judicial Conduct, yes.
All right, so just getting back, because this is obviously a bill that I will definitely sponsor. If airline pilots have to be recorded, if police officers have to have body cams, I cannot fathom that we cannot have cameras in the courts. And we're not saying that all judges are bad. No. We're just saying that one bad judge, could throw a patriot that walked into a building for 27 minutes or 37 minutes in jail for 2 years.
Yes. Absolutely. So, and it is happening.
I know.
I know you know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've got some going on right now. There's a couple. They took in a child. I think it was their son or their nephew went to jail. They took in the child. The mother is on drugs. She has multiple criminal charges on that. And they were still allowing the mother to see the child, of course, but the mother was taking the child into a drug house. The child cried out in school, and the CPS got involved. They told the parents, do not let her take the child again. Well, the judge got involved, and he put the adoptive parents, both of them have served 10 days in jail, and they're wanting them to serve a full 6 months in jail for keeping this child from the mother who is taking the child into the drug house. I mean, it's insane when you give yourself that much to help a child, and you have these corrupt judges who are just angry at you for whatever reason, and they're not abiding by the law.
I'm right there with you. That has just absolutely got to stop. And we've actually got a topic, if we get to it, where we're going to talk a little bit about police and sheriffs and the law in general. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. In order for America to work, we have to have full and complete confidence in both our election system to make sure that we have a say in our government and that they don't steal another election. And we have to have confidence in our judicial system. And something like, the ability to donate to a judge while the case is ongoing. I mean, if Nick was the judge and Jennifer was suing me and I could donate to Nick, and then Jennifer doesn't even know it while the case is going on, it's just ridiculous. And look at the cost to the state. We've got to design a form, and the judge says, hey, I just received a donation from Larry, and that form has to be filed in the court record, and it has to be given to Jennifer. That's just common sense.
Yes.
You should know if your opponent in a lawsuit is donating to the judge.
Absolutely.
And like I said, that's simple, no-cost solution, and it's common sense, and it needs to be done. But believe it or not, we have something actually more important than what I'm doing in the state of Texas. To her, not to me personally, but Dr. Angela, you've recently decided that you want to do something. What is it, ma'am?
Want?
Well, fair enough.
I am committed to running for the U.S. House of Representatives in the state of California in District 10.
Outstanding. Now, who is currently in District 10?
So the gentleman currently in the position, his name is Mark DeSaulnier, and he is a Democrat. He is a very long time local, state, and federal representative for the area. He is heavily criticized as being there way too long and needs to move on. I am not as familiar with him. I'm studying him because my district was redistricted during our state Prop 50. So I was kind of thrown for a loop, and am meeting with the Republicans from the Central Committee in that county, which it's now a split county for that district. So
okay,
we're split counties.
So, but Prop 50 is actually being challenged in court right now. So there's a chance that could you get unzoned or have to run against somebody else?
No, not for this time. I was told it already failed. The efforts to try to repeal it for now have failed. So for at least this, which makes it really crazy, Larry, because if somehow it gets flipped or they change it for the next election, it means I would have to rerun in a completely different district.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they're talking right now that in the next session they're going to look at redistricting both the Texas House and Texas Senate. But why? You said that you're running, and why are you doing this? I mean, why are you putting yourself through the pain that you're about to have? And trust me, I know of what I speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good question. So like many in this room, I've been frustrated for years with the lack of ethics and outcomes from many in Congress. And in the middle of the night, I literally heard so what are you willing to do about it? And I did some deep breathing, went back to sleep. And 2 days later, it was there again. I really felt a pressing that I needed to do something about it. And after trying to get those that are more experienced than I am to talk me out of it, and learning that due to the redistricting I just talked about, I wouldn't even be in the district that I thought I would be and that I've lived in for 30 years. So I met with Republican leadership in both counties, and they both encouraged me to run despite known obstacles.
All right. So what are those known obstacles?
So one is the incumbency. I thought I was going to be running in, like I said, a different district. And that representative, Eric Swalwell, who you all know sucks big time, gave up his seat to run for governor. And now we're challenging that because he doesn't even live in the state more. But anyway, so that seat was being vacated. So it's always harder to run against an incumbent, especially one who has such a name recognition because he's been there for so long, right?
I totally understand that.
In addition, I'm now the third Republican who has handed in their papers to run.
Okay.
But I was still greatly encouraged to do so. One of those two has run twice prior and have been told that she nor the other Republican candidate are strong.
All right.
So
why
me?
Yeah.
I love my state and I love my community, and I'm not running away. I'm not backing down, and I'm going to help bring our state and our community back to their glory, and one that families and businesses want to be a part. But we have open primaries in California, so that makes it a little more complicating. All of the candidates that are in the primary get listed on the ballot in a random selected order. So they pre-select, but it's going to be a pre-selected order. And then the top two voted names move to the general election.
Whether they're Republicans or Democrats?
Correct.
Wow. Talk about a way to ensure a uniparty rule.
Yes.
So what are your top three priorities for the district?
So, to preface, I kind of threw it all together in one, but California was once the jewel of the nation, honestly. People like to tease, but in beauty, in weather, self-sustainability, being economy, food production, oil availability, we used to be the world's third largest economy. Now we've slipped to the fourth. And Governor Newsom has created debt here. California has been overregulated and mismanaged for decades. I want to help stop the bleeding of our companies and families fleeing California. I want to help make people feel safer, get people off the street and out of homelessness, make more housing affordable, communities less commute specifically. A lot of people commute, make them less insufferable, our roads more passable. We have some of the absolute worst roads in the nation. We make jokes about it. When you leave to go to Oregon or Nevada or Arizona, when you've crossed the border because your car stops shaking. But my top three are really going to be cost of living, the transportation and commute times, healthcare access, and affordability. But ultimately, I really want to be a bridge to help parties and people learn how to work together again and stop dividing and attacking one another. That's my priority.
That sounds good. I'd like to see it on a mailer. Again, you got to be careful because you've got to pick an issue that's important. I'm running against one guy, and he's very smart. He's the third candidate in the race, and he has good policy positions. There's a lot of the same things that we share in common, but I just don't think there's, Bongino, who is much maligned now, but he says that campaigns are about sound bites and snapshots. And, be careful, because what you just said is common sense and it's right, but you've got to have something that the voter can stick in his mind. And so, I like that. Now, the other two that you said that are running against you, identified one of them as having previously lost twice. What about the other one? And why are you the best choice out of the three of them?
So, good question. And I am still learning about the third candidate, the gentleman. The female is the one that's run twice prior.
Okay.
And the Central Committee chair we're going to have a conversation and learn more because he's also just learning about this third individual.
Okay.
Ultimately, I am fifth generation Californian. I have everything vested in making this state safe and one that people want to be here for again. I'd love to connect, have interviews at the border. And I mean, for all of you from crazy states who've come here for the past 70 years, we get to decide who comes in to California. I'm kidding. No, I really want to make this.
Hey, I'm game on that as long as we get to say who comes into Texas.
Exactly. Right. But we get to send back all yours that came here 60 years ago. Okay.
All right. So what is your website and how do we best support you at this particular point as you get your campaign up and running?
Yeah. So I literally pulled papers on Friday. So everything is in motion. My website will be drgriffithsforcongress.com.
Okay.
It's Dr. Griffith.
Please put that up in the nest.
When you say it, I will. And my Facebook page is also Dr. Griffiths for Congress, and my X handle is GriffithsCA10, and she is here in the room.
I saw that. Yes.
I'll bring it up so you guys can see it. But I'm just getting everything launched.
I know it takes a little bit of time to get everything done. I will tell you need to find a good marketing person to get you into Google and Facebook as quickly as possible. I think I was a little bit late to the fight on that. I opened up my Google browser when I was researching this topic today and saw that the Texas Realtors Association had a advertisement for my opponent. So I quickly contacted my campaign treasurer, who is a lobbyist for the Texas Realtors Association, and complained and said, whoever runs your office is going to get thrown out of my office. They are not going to be allowed in. I actually thought about taking, giant burlap bags down to Austin, because in Roman times, when someone would try and bribe a Roman official, they would sew them in the burlap bag with an animal and throw them in the Tiber. Well, the Guadalupe River is pretty close to the Capitol in Austin.
Kidding.
I'm guessing we've got enough bobcats down there. So if you come in and try and bribe me, it's not going to go well for you. I represent the people of 106, not you. Anyway, all right, I do want to talk about something in Southern and Dr. A. I want to kind of frame this. There's a small micro thing that we're talking about, but it gets into a larger issue. And Jennifer, I'm going to want you to weigh in because it talks to your area of expertise as well. But there was a chief of police, all right, in Detroit that is telling his officers to violate federal law. All right, he actually said, and I quote, of our officers, 98 to 99% do it the right way each and every day by not calling ICE. And he says, but I do have 1 or 2% that decide to violate our rules, our policies, and our procedures. And to these officers, I will hold them accountable. Now, federal law says they are supposed to cooperate with ICE, and they're choosing not to do so. So he's saying that 98% of his officers are violating federal law in the name of political correctness. Now, I will grant you that it is a tough thing for them. Their boss, their city is telling them one thing, and the federal law is telling them another. But it's very, very simple if you go to the Constitution. It's called the Supremacy Clause. The laws of the United States trump every law of every state and every city, and this has got to stop. And it's not stopping because our pathetic Attorney General, and I don't think we were here when she said, but the Dow. Okay, no, it's not about the Dow. It's about the cannibal pedophiles that you're not holding accountable. But anyway, back to this particular sheriff. I just want to tell you guys that, I had a lot of time to think when I was in isolation for 127 days. And there was a time when one of the officers was escorting me out to my little cage so I could walk back and forth for an hour. And he said, "You should not be in here. I know you're innocent. I can't believe what they're doing to you." And I said to him, But are you doing anything about it? And he said, "No, I have bills to pay and a family to feed." And therein lies the road to the Holocaust. And you can say, hey, how are you getting from A to Z so quickly? When you put your job, all right, over doing what is right, and you are in a position of authority to enforce the law, then that is the first step, a small step, on the road to actually putting us in camps. Now, this guy, his 1 or 2% of his officers, all right, there was one of them that they just called for a translator, and then that translator apparently called for the Border Patrol to come and get the guy. But then the second incident, the officer ran a search on this guy, and he found out that the guy had a felony warrant, so he called Border Patrol, and they're saying he's doing something wrong. So here's where we get into the macro question. As the country divides further, do you trust law enforcement to follow the law, or do you trust them to become political? Because it's easy to say, I back the blue, and I do back the blue, but I back them with my eyes wide open, looking for corruption, looking for evidence. It's a trust but verify situation. I'm telling you, if you're in court and you watch an FBI agent, Agent John Moore, lie on the stand about you, knowingly, willingly deceiving not only the jury, but the American people, it tends to open your eyes a little bit. So do you trust them? Do you know, like if I ask you, do you even know who your sheriff is? All right. And do you know if they will protect citizens if the Democrats win and they start rounding us up? I'll tell you right now, I've got real questions about our sheriff for a variety of reasons. But one that I haven't really talked about is he allowed the Federal Bureau of Investigation to come in and grab Stewart Rhodes from our county. He allowed them to politically persecute a citizen. Any sheriff that does that needs to be replaced, period. Any sheriff that does that will go along with red flag laws. He will hamstring conservatives. He will absolutely go out of his way. All right, so again, are we loyal to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or are we loyal to the Constitution? It's easy for me as a military officer to say I am not loyal to my commanding officer. I am loyal to the Constitution. And as long as that commanding officer follows the Constitution, I am loyal to them. But we are in a situation right now where our police are not doing the right things, where our judges are compromised. We are watching a judicial jihad against President Trump. I've been saying it forever. I said it before he even took office, that if he did not immediately grab the first judge that impacted his administration, that obstructed his administration's, his right to rule the country as president, Title 18 USC 241, then this was going to happen. So I see you, James. We'll get to your hands in a second, but I want to rotate through the panel. Do I have the right attitude, or am I completely wrong, or do you still back the blue in the same way you did as a child? Go ahead, Southern.
My assessment on this is a little bit different than everybody else. So when I say back the blue, I back the officers that actually know their jobs
Yes.
and will follow the Constitution. the ones that are pulling their service arms on people just because they feel unsafe, yeah, you don't deserve your job anymore.
I mean, all of that has to be looked at within reason, because, you know, I often joke with law enforcement that, you know, the difference between them and me is I always outgunned my enemy, and oftentimes they don't. You know, the thing that I hate seeing is, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I taught my children, you know, and it was taught to me that, you know, no matter the age of the officer or anything else, you know, you when you get stopped, your window goes down, the lights go on if it's dark, your hands go at the 10 and 2 o'clock position, and it's yes, sir, no, sir, and you wait and follow their instructions. And we see time after time on TikTok, on X, you know, on various social medias platforms that they're just not obeying the officer. I mean, I'm reminded of the old Chris Rock skit, you know, how not to get your A kicked by the police. You know, it's real simple. Follow their instructions. You know, but they're just not doing that. Go ahead, Southern.
When you said contacts, I want to be very clear. I said when they feel unsafe, not when they are actually in unsafe conditions.
Yes, ma'am.
We've had body cam footage that came out recently where she said she felt unsafe, but she was not in an unsafe condition. That's the problem right now, is that we have officers that use their feelings over facts.
Yes, ma'am. And I mean, Michael Byrd assassinated Ashley Babbitt on January the 6th because he felt unsafe. An unarmed 100-pound woman climbing through a window. Now, Dr. A, you mentioned in your top 3 things that you wanted to make California safer. Is this, you know, the problem with law enforcement is they have to do it right 100% of the time. The crooks, you know, they can do it wrong most of the time and get away with it. But law enforcement, we expect to be right 100% of the time. So what did you mean by that? Dr.
Hang
A?
on.
Okay. All right. Hard to hang on. We don't like dead air. All right, James.
I can't answer like.
Okay. We'll come to you, James, and then I'll come back to you, Dr. A, after Jennifer. Go ahead, James. Well.
Sorry.
There we go.
I was having problems opening my mic. Okay.
I get it.
My name's James. God bless you all. God bless the Patriots. I'm a patriot. I go to the ICE building in Portland. I see what's going on firsthand. You know, you probably all saw the chief of police crying over a TDA gang member and a prostitute. I mean, their actions speak louder than words. And we're not fighting the Democrats. We're fighting evil. It's good against evil right now. I want to say to Angel, you know, I'm going to pray for you. I hope you win. We need Republicans in these sanctuary states, or we're going to lose our country if we can't get our states and our country back.
Yes, sir. I absolutely agree with you. You know, when I look at these police chiefs, again, you know, we've got to make sure we're getting somebody in there that's actually competent. And I don't know that the guy's not, but the Detroit guy, you know, the way he spoke, I'm like, come on. You know, is this guy legitimate, or is he a DEI hire? And that's the poison, you know, that creeps into the system when you have programs like DEI. Again, I told you, and I could not care less what color your skin casing is. I want the most competent person for the job. It does not matter gender. I don't care. I want somebody that's going to ruthlessly enforce the law within the confines of the Constitution. And I don't think we have that right now. Jennifer, what are your thoughts on this?
So I've learned a lot just during the last month. You know, as I stated earlier, I worked for 2 of our senators, and we had a very close relationship with our fire and police. Our fire chief, I spoke with on the phone probably once a week. Certainly during incidents, we were on the phone daily. But with your campaign, my eyes were opened. I know that the lobby groups had a lot to do with it, but you know, whenever your opponent went to our sheriff and our police department, and we know that our sheriff would not look at your J6 evidence. We asked him personally to talk with you. We had multiple precinct chairs wanting him just to look at the video that you have on your website, and he said, don't need to do it. I knew he would endorse your opponent because he's been in for a while. He's an incumbent, and I didn't mind that at all. But, they came out like literally against you and had no evidence. So that really makes you say, what is up with our police? What is up with our sheriff's department if they are going to verbally come against someone when they don't even know what's happening? So, I'm really struggling with this because I've had a very good relationship with them for many years. I took you to one of the fire departments yesterday because, there's some tension there, and I wanted to make sure that they knew that you are for them and that you knew that they will be for you if you win. But it's hard. It's hard when you see this of who do you trust now.
No, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know that I've said that, but I mean, this sheriff opposed Mitch Little, who's a Harvard-educated lawyer, represented Ken Paxton. Mm-hmm. He defended him in the impeachment trial. He's honestly, I consider him to be, probably the most intellectual man inside the Texas House right now. He is a fighter for conservative values. I greatly admire him, and the sheriff was against him. Then there's another man named Representative Andy Hopper that's, a little bit like me, a little bit more of a populist, a firebrand for the Texas conservative movement, and the sheriff was against him.
And still is.
And
still is endorsing a person who stands no chance against him.
So, that was a tough one. And I got to be honest with you, she's exactly right. I've got a sheriff that refused to look at evidence. Let's just stop right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, what is his job? All right. And so, let's take things one problem at a time. Obviously, my election is a primary concern to me right now. But, believe me, all of this will be in his next election.
It opens your eyes to what's actually happening, though, when you've got these departments. Like I said, if they just had endorsed him, that's fine. We understand that. But to come out against you, fortunately, we did get with a wonderful sheriff.
Yep.
He's a former sheriff, and let him know what was going on. He wanted to call our sheriff before he made any decisions, and 2 days later, he called and said he's endorsing you 100%, and he's actually going to come and speak to our county this coming Friday. But that says a lot.
Yeah, when he actually, he said, hey, send me all the evidence, and I did, and 2 days later, he decided to endorse me. So again, that's life. That's what the campaign's about. Can I get the truth of what I want to do for the citizens of House District 106 out, or can my opponent keep them focused on January the 6th? And Dr. A, go ahead, ma'am.
I apologize. I was trying to bring my second profile into the room so you guys could see the X profile, and I had to get out of the same room with the second device so that it wasn't repeating into the phone.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, safety is a critical issue, but it's a local issue. So it is one that is near and dear to my heart, and I am compassionate about working with the local law enforcement, sheriff, and things to try to fix the issue. It's not a federal issue, right? And we need to keep state and local issues. I will do everything I can to help the community with my, platform and everything that I'll have available. But, I am 100% excited about Chad Bianco, one of our primary candidates for governor. He is so strong, and he is the sheriff of Riverside County, and he turned that county around. It is so safe. And his policies and practices around 2A, he basically wants standardization across all California counties so that people can protect themselves if they so choose.
Hallelujah.
And he is a zero, he 100% support protest, but the minute it gets violent, it's done. It's over. There's absolutely no wiggle room for that. And I support that. He has all kinds of ideas and plans. And so, of course, I would back him 100% and try to work with the sheriff in Contra Costa County and Alameda County, who are not strong. They have been voted in by a squishy base, And I'm hoping that election integrity changes in coming years, which I will 100% support, will help to get more constitutional sheriffs into those roles.
Good.
Just my thought.
Good.
Yes, ma'am. And I would like to say on that note, 2A is just so important. And I can tell you, having been a political prisoner in the United States, know that it can happen. I mean, that is exactly what I was. And I'm sorry, little lefties. Go cry to somebody else. When you go to prison as a nonviolent offender, as a man that defended police, you are a political prisoner. The FBI tabletop this, including the mass prosecutions and mass persecutions of conservative Americans. They planned this. And, on the 2A, here's my nice little National Rifle Association Lifetime Member Cup, and I didn't do that on purpose. It just happened to be the one I grabbed, and I did pick up an endorsement yesterday. Well, not an endorsement, a recommendation from the Texas Gun Rights Association because of my stance on the Second Amendment, which is absolute. All right, now, I do want to bring up something. Those of you that think that it can't happen here, if you were in New York City right now, and you were peacefully sleeping at 5 a.m., guess what's happening to you now? You are now hearing the wail of the Musayn over the minarets. They are literally blasting the Islamic call to prayer through New York City in some areas at 5 a.m. Now, Mayor Eric Adams, Democrat, gave them the green light for amplified broadcasts on Fridays during Ramadan. Camel's nose in the tent. All right. Now, under the current mayor, Democrat, Zoran Mamdani, the policy's still going and expanding. Again, House District 106, choose your fighter. The man that let care go unpunished, unmentioned in the legislative session. He pulled his own bill and then bragged about it on social media, that he stood strong against Islam while killing his own bill. That's who my opponent is. I don't need to call him names. I just need you to see him for what he is, a man that talks like a conservative and wilts like cardboard in a rainstorm. All right, the man has no rigidity. He is weak, weak, weak. All right, so what are we going to do about this? All right, let's talk about this for just a second. The policy of accommodating Islam is appeasement. And what does the lesson of history tell us about appeasement? Appeasement eventually leads to a final choice between fight or surrender. They are saying in the local mosques here that when it comes time for them to develop or deliver the ultimatum that we will fall on our knees and worship their false god Muhammad and his and the pedophile prophet Muhammad. No, under no circumstances will I do this. They are telling the parishioners of their mosques this because they have heard voices from our side, like my opponent pulling his anti-care resolution. They have seen Qurans and they have seen hijabs being distributed in Texas schools on my opponent's watch. They have seen developments, 25-acre development in Aubrey on my opponent's watch. They believe that they are winning because we're becoming morally and spiritually weak. What needs to happen to stop that? The Christian church and the men in it need to stand up and with force and with might say, not 1 inch further. That is the solution to this. We tell them, in the words of Ronald Reagan, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. They have gone far enough. Winston Churchill said, when great forces are on the move, man is not measured by material computations. He learns that he's a spirit and not an animal. Great forces are on the move today. We have a choice between being a Christian constitutional republic or letting our weak politicians accommodate Islam and seeing us slip into the grip of the caliphate and all the odious apparatus of being a Mohammedan. It must not happen, and I will do everything I can legislatively to stop it. So, we've talked about weak Republicans, and I'll be honest with you, I cannot stand Democrats, but I expect them to be evil. But the evil I see in our own side, the policy of accommodation, is just killing me. And speaking of that, Southern, I need to rely on your expertise. All right. Can you tell me about the phrase politically exposed persons, and why should we hate that phrase with the intensity that I do already? And I only know a little bit about it. Ma'am?
I actually don't know this phrase.
Okay, well, all
Can you hear
right.
me?
So, yeah, Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, who are the enemies of the American people, released a statement overnight that included a list of all government officials and quotation marks politically exposed persons that appear in the Epstein files. This was a requirement of the Congressional Act that was passed last, I believe, December. Now, it doesn't tell us, how extensively involved these individuals were. It just lists their names. For example, Dan Bongino is on the list. President Trump is on the list, all right, as well as a whole host of other people. And we know that President Trump had very little to do with Jeffrey Epstein, as much as the left would like him to be guilty of it. I'm sorry. President Trump did not go to the island. He is not a pedophile, and he doesn't eat pizza, to put it politely. Now, the list that was provided by the DOJ contained hundreds of names. It had politicians, celebrities, business leaders, historical figures, deceased people, all right, but it did lean somewhat left overall. I have long said that there are many powerful people on both the left and the right side probably on this list. I have not had time to go through it. I believe there's almost 260 names on it. But of the 260, 130 to 150 were strong Democratic politicians, entertainers, and donors that leaned, left. And on the right, there were 90 to 110 strong Republican politicians. So, Southern, what can you tell me about this list? And what is the latest overall, ma'am?
Okay, so as far as the list, like some of the names I've been able to go through, like MTG name is on the list. So for those of you that don't know, Epstein was subscribed to the FBI newsletter, which meant that he got updates from the FBI. Anybody can go subscribe. I subscribe to it. They just send you a random email and give you a breakdown on what they're working on. So that's where some of these names come from. So if they were in those news appearing.
Okay.
Or saying, oh, an Epstein list. None of that was an Epstein list. I don't even know why they're calling it that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that this is another, I'm going to call it attempt by the government to delay real accountability for people that might be pedophiles and cannibals. Is that accurate? I see the 100%.
Absolutely. The people that we've exposed so far aren't even on there.
Okay, so the people that you've exposed, and I'm going to be honest with you, I know, who you work for and what you do. And I trust you completely because you've never violated my trust in any way. So if Southern was in charge, all right. So I'm giving you, and I actually like to ask this question to people. When I go and talk like the county tax assessor, or when I talk to a county commissioner, I'll ask the question: if you're king for a day or queen for a day, in your case, who do you arrest, Southern? Who's in jail? Give me just 5 names of people that are immediately under arrest, and why are they under arrest? Just give me a bullet point or 2.
I'm definitely arresting Les Wexner and Steven Pinker. Alan Dershowitz. There's a couple of people that are associated with Les Wexner that I definitely want to see go down. So those would be like my 5-ish.
Okay. All right, so that's not any significant politician, so I've got to ask the question. I mean, it's well known that Bill Clinton was on Epstein Island multiple times. It's well known, or at least I've seen pictures. Now, fair enough, could be AI doctoring. I get it. But, why not Bill Clinton?
I don't ever see the U.S. arresting a previous president.
I think you're right, ma'am, but you're the queen.
And jailing them. I just don't see it.
Okay, but in your opinion, do you believe that there is a high probability that Bill Clinton had intercourse with a girl under the age of 17 on Epstein's Island?
Oh, I'm not comfortable saying that one right now. I haven't looked to all the documents that list his name.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Now,
But I will arrest him for like all the children they tried to steal out of Haiti.
okay. No, I'm not disagreeing with you there. All right, let's go to Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'll go all in on Bill Clinton 100%. He's done a lot of things bad, including that. So yeah, 100%.
Yes, sir. I totally, I'm with you on that, but Southern, I think is a little bit more, what I'm going to say is polished in terms of investigating these things, and she knows what various criminal standards are. And so I think she's got a better feel for it than I do. But I mean, I'll tell you the pictures that I've seen, if I could get an eyewitness, or somebody that unfortunately was with the man, to actually testify, then I absolutely would arrest him. And I realize, Southern, that you are right, that as a former president, I don't believe he will ever be arrested, especially considering he's a DOJ. And what's the number one rule of the DOJ? The DOJ must not harm any Democrat or through inaction allow a Democrat to be harmed. So again, I've said that multiple times. That's a play on Asimov's 3 laws for robots. But I just don't think we're ever going to see the truth on this. And it's actually really frustrating because I think, I remember on this show talking about that we have a golden opportunity here, because I feel like there is this big, and I apologize for the gross imagery, and this is about to be gross, but we have this enormous boil on the American body politic. And I really thought President Trump was the person that could lance it and drain out all the lies and the corruption in our system. And it has to be done. It has to be done. And the reason for that is so that it never gets to that next step. And what I mean by that is we need government to be responsive to the citizenry. We have to have people in government that are going to tell us the truth. I don't expect politicians to live completely righteous lives, but I don't expect them to be eating children either or hurting children. And there is a possibility that really happened. And it is blowing my mind. And I feel like a conspiracy theorist even saying it. Okay, but I was called a conspiracy theorist for saying that they stole the election, and they did. It's so frustrating. So, I've often said, and we've discussed Colonel Richard Kemp. This is changing topics, and this is going to be fairly quick because we're going to wrap about 12:05 to 12:10, somewhere in there. But, major unrest is occurring in Great Britain right now. And why is it occurring? It's occurring because exactly the angst that we feel with our government reference Epstein is how the British citizenry feels about their government and its dealing with grooming gangs that are raping young British women. Now, Colonel Richard Kemp, a former commander of the British forces in Afghanistan, issued a warning about social cohesion in both Europe and I said cohesion. Listen to my Texas coming out. I meant social cohesion in Europe and Britain, speaking to an Israeli broadcast. All right. This guy served in counterinsurgency operations in Northern Ireland. He held intelligence roles in Westminster and in the Cabinet Office. And he emphasized that a civil war is coming to Great Britain because the politicians are failing to address what he termed the Islamification of the UK. I don't think a civil war is coming here yet over Epstein, but if we allow Islam to continue, it will absolutely occur here. All right, again, the choice is between fight and surrender. The difference between the British public, and no offense to the fine men that I served with in the British Army, all right, and I have a T-shirt somewhere. I was given it by the British Royal Marines because I saved some of their lives in Afghanistan, 4-5 Commando. But their citizenry is weaker and more accommodating than ours is, in my opinion. I say that with full knowledge that only 3% of Americans took the field against the British Crown, and even fewer stood up against the theft of the presidential vote in 2020. Why do I think Islam must be stopped by the politicians is because it will come to violence if it's not. The first time you get a grooming gang operating in Texas, I can tell you there will be Texas men that will find short ropes and tall trees and deal with the problem if the government doesn't take care of it. Yes. And that leads to a collapse of society. It does. Okay, it is not what I want. I want sheriffs, police, and courageous men to stand up and stop this. I mean, I had a discussion with them saying, how are you going to stop Islam? It's a religion. One, I don't agree with that assertion, but you listen to someone and you talk to them. All right, I walked him through how I was going to go after their financial instruments, how I was going to ban the burqa. We have to move the Overton window with the American public to not see Islam as a religion, to where it sees it as a political system. I want to remind all the women in the audience, under Sharia, a Muslim man can rape you, and because your word counts for half as much as his, he can get away with it. And it's even worse. If you're a Muslim woman that is raped, your father now, according to Sharia, probably has the obligation to kill you because you have disgraced the family by being raped. That is how ridiculous that political system is. Okay, how about this? You're not allowed to leave the home without a male escort. You are not allowed to go out uncovered because men can't control themselves. Do I need to even go on? Why is this even an issue? Why aren't American women screaming for American men to do something to not let this political system deprive you of your God-given rights? And when I say God-given, I mean Christian God-given rights. Think about this. Look at the entire world. The only religion that has advanced human freedom is Christianity. Judaism, followed by Christianity, have advanced human freedom and the cause of it. Everything else has taken humanity back into slavery and into submission. Its very name is submission. Do you know what two ideologies have killed the most people? I'm going to give you a little hint. Communism is number one, and Islam is number two. And it's debatable because they didn't keep track of how many people they slaughtered when they went into India. We cannot allow the Islamification of Texas to occur in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It is the clearest choice between my opponent and I. Now, what can we do to stop it? I just told you, stop letting them acquire land. I will work with county commissioners, county judges. We will put laws in place to ban them from buying any more Texas property. We just passed a law last session to not allow Chinese communists to buy our land, to not allow people from Pakistan to buy our land. Why are we allowing a hostile ideology to the American Constitution to purchase any land? That is an argument I'm looking forward to having with Gene Wu on the back mic. It's coming, buddy. You better be ready for me. And you better be loaded with both barrels, because I'm not going to let you get away with all the things that you've said in the past. All right, Jeff, go ahead, sir.
Well, that's 100%. And Trump said it best. China's had their door locked for the last, forever, and we're not allowed to purchase a penny's worth of land in China, right? Mm-hmm. And Trump said, "Hey, we've opened the door. Now you've got to open your door," and they did not. And so I agree with you 100%. As far as I'm concerned, the caliphate and the Sharia is taking over Europe. They're trying to come in here, and they're posting up the caliphate to get the Sharia. And once they go to putting that red flag up across over the mosque, then that's jihad. And we cannot allow that because they are a political organization. Larry, you know this. Look what they're doing in Dearborn and Minneapolis. And I just want to tell you, I love pilots, being an aircraft mechanic since 1990 till now. And I love pilots more than anything in this world. So, I got love for you, Colonel. But when you went through the J6, I considered you a friend from that point on, for sure. Because any man that sacrifices like that, those A-10s and all the good aircraft, I love it. And I did want to let you know that we're trying to get a program put together for the armed forces for all the aircraft mechanics and mechanics to come straight out of the military and into commercial aviation with their A and their P or their pilot license so they can fly for the commercials. I just want to let you know what we're doing. I appreciate your support, sir.
All right, thank you.
Because I know you got to get it.
We do. We've got two more hands up, and then I'm going to kind of wrap up, and then I'll come back to you, Dr. A. Go ahead, 10th Mountain. 10th Mountain Division. What up to Fort Drum, and they had a range out there, and the crowd was on both sides of the range at 3,000 feet, and they had the A-10s fly through the crowd, and we weren't allowed to arm the gun until we were past the crowd line. Then we would arm the gun, and we would shoot. And they had this orange dumpster that they had put together. They had painted a dumpster. Yeah, I mean, I would say, what is it, about a 4x4x4 container? And we literally, my 4-ship that I was leading had sawed it in half after the first 4-ship of A-10s went through on one pass, and then we started strafing the pieces. So that was a good time. Go ahead, Mr. 10th Mountain.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I tell you what, life skills that I have learned from that division are invaluable. I've unfortunately had to revert back to some of them recently, but you never forget your training. But I just wanted to hop on real quick. I'm pretty new to the space. I've only been active since November 2025, just to let everybody know. But I have been unable to resolve my differences or my grievances with the government. So now, since they don't want to be fair and honest in their dealings with me, and kind of thrown a veteran of the United States Army under the bus who served this country honorably, then they're going to get the full brunt of my abilities, because I started my professional career at Tech Mountain.
Yeah.
But through peaceful conversation. Is
yes.
That what
yes, exactly.
Within the law.
Well, I fully believe in self-defense, but that's obviously illegal. But obviously my professional career has ended kind of at Capital Research Center think tank. I'm going to be joining a political campaign here shortly, so I hope to get my career back on track. But I just wanted to offer you some of the details that I've found with the Epstein files and some of the headlines that I see today. So through my research, I have tracked essentially a shadow government and a deep state. The shadow government is J.P. Morgan and the Rothschilds. And you can look at my articles for this information. That's all there. And today, I think the big headline that I see is, a lot of people are going after Pam Bondi. And it's my opinion that until the rear guard is rooted out of the DOJ, it doesn't matter who the AG is. And Todd Blanche is the problem. And I will point to this. It's a post that I made today. The FBI needs to secure Ed Martin for his safety, and then raid Fort Washington, Maryland, so that Ed Martin can either resume his work, or somebody needs to take over if his safety is that much in jeopardy. And so I've cited both of those.
Okay, so quick thing on Ed Martin. I do want. Go ahead, sir. Wrap up if you can, because I'm up against it.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. But the deep state headquarters have been found. Secret internet connections, child porn servers have all been located. And Todd Blanche has fired Ed Martin just recently because he found all this.
All right. So, Southern, have you seen any of that in your research?
No.
Okay.
Yep. It's posted. I posted it in the chat.
All right.
So you can check it out yourself.
All right. Thank you. It's one thing about Ed Martin that most people don't know is he had no staff. He had no budget. Todd Blanche basically sidelined him. He is absolutely right, 10th Mountain, in what he said on the on Todd Blanche. He is the problem. He is standing in the way of remuneration for J6ers that had their lives destroyed. He is an absolute obstacle to Epstein moving forward. He's an absolute obstacle to any accountability for the fraud that was uncovered under the Doge program. We just have to do something. The problem is we are relying right now on the government to actually do something. We're relying on them to police themselves. And that's why we have things like Texans for Judicial Accountability. I used to say that unions are a failure of corporate leadership. And it's the same thing right now. We have to have groups like Texans for Judicial Accountability because our judges have failed us. We have to have protest of the government because our election failed us. We have to have journalists like Southern and Sarah that go out and actually put things out to expose what the government is trying to hide from us. It is getting ridiculous that we cannot rely on our government, and the only way to change it is to put people in there that will actually change it no matter what the cost is. So because you made your campaign announcement, and Dr. A, you need to know we're at 2 minutes until wrap, all right, what, if you could get that 1 point in the minds of the people in your congressional district about you, why should they pick you? 1 point. And she's not there.
Larry, today's my day of technical difficulties. My dog just ripped my headphones out of my ear.
Go ahead. So what is, then you missed it. So what is the 1 point, if you could have voters, know 1 or 2 sentences about you before they walked in to cast their vote, what are those 1 or 2 sentences?
Of course, you put me on the spot. I am 100% here for this community. I've been here for a quarter century in this very community. I am a resident here. I am going to stick with you. I'm not moving to D.C. to stay in D.C. I'm not here to gain power and move further. Okay. I am here to build this community and make it what we all want it to be again.
Sounds great. All right, everyone, that is a wrap for today's show. I will simply close with this. Be strong, stand up, get out and vote. We're getting close to primary season. Serve your political party in any way you can, or your church. The solution to America's problem is more Christians being active in all facets of life. All right, that's it for the day. I'm just going to wrap by saying God bless each and every one of you. Jennifer, anything else?
And vote in the primary.
Yes.
Yes, vote. Early voting in
starts
Texas
tomorrow.
starts tomorrow.
Yep, I'll be.
And Mr. Brock, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, not a problem. All right, we are wrapping. Nick, we good to close?